It's now 1996, and the Philadelphia 76ers are drafting Allen Iverson with the first overall pick in the star-studded 1996 NBA draft due to a combination of his exceptional talent and the team's need for a dynamic scorer and playmaker. Iverson, known for his scoring ability, speed, and ball handling skills, had a standout college career at Georgetown University. He was seen as one of the most electrifying and promising prospects in the draft. At the time, the 76ers were in need of a franchise player to rebuild their team, and Iverson's potential to become a transcendent talent made him an attractive choice. Despite concerns about his size and off-court issues, the Sixers believed Iverson's skills and competitiveness would be transformative for their organization. Fast forwarding to 2002, Allen Iverson had firmly established himself as one of the league's most exciting and talented players, and his impact on the game of basketball and popular culture was undeniable. He had made 3 All-Star appearances, won 2 scoring titles, and even led the 76ers to the NBA Finals by himself and took a game away from Shaq and Kobe's Lakers. Allen Iverson, as we all know, would end up having a legendary career and be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, but unfortunately, as we also all know, he would retire with 0 rings. But what if I went back in time to the 2002-2003 season and become the GM of a 76ers team with prime Allen Iverson in an attempt to build not only a championship roster, but a dynasty, so Iverson could have had an even better career than he had before. There's also a big what if out there that was brought up by Kobe Bryant himself, saying, "We were lucky Iverson wasn't 6'5". So to see how good Iverson would have been if he was that tall, I decided to use my magical powers and make him 6'5" to see how unguardable Iverson really is. Now on to our first 2 trades. First, I decided to trade Eric Snow, Monty Williams, and Al Singleton to the Kings for Bobby Jackson and Mitch English. Bobby is an established veteran point guard who can shoot and help Iverson right away. Next, I decided to trade Aaron McKie and Mitch English to the Nets for Kerry Kittles and Tamar Slay. Kerry is a nice 3-and-D player that can run off screens to get open, spot up in transition, and space the floor for Iverson. Here's the rotation. In our first game, we are going up against T-Mac and the Magic. It will be hard solely because of McGrady, but I believe in this team. First play of the game, Bobby brings the ball up and Iverson pops out. Van Horn sets an off-ball screen for Kittles, and he pops out that gets the ball. Then Coleman sets an off-ball for Iverson, and he doesn't get open, so I just dance around with him for a bit, create a separation, and shoot the 3 that's nothing but money. Next, T-Mac misses his second free throw. Van Horn gets the rebound, kicks it to Bobby, then Bobby kicks it to Kittles, and Kittles passes it to Iverson for a nothing but money transition 3. Another transition play, Van Horn gets the rebound and passes to Bobby, then Bobby feeds Iverson for the nothing but money transition 3. Next, Iverson brings up the ball, passes it to Coleman and Van Horn's, sets an off ball for Iverson to get open, and you know when Iverson catches it and he's open, it's money. Next, Kittles brings up the ball and passes it to Coleman. Then Van Horn sets an off ball for Kittles to get open, but he doesn't, so I pass it to Iverson and I run a pick and roll, and Iverson gets the mean and 1. Next, Iverson brings the ball up and passes it to Buckner. Then Todd sets a really bad off-ball screen for Iverson, but he still pops out. Then Bryant sets the off-ball for Kittles to get open. Then Iverson gets an off-ball from Todd and goes to the corner, and you know that's nothing but money. Now we're in transition. Bryant gets the rebound and passes it to Iverson. Then Iverson hits up Buckner for the 3. Now I'm running out of time, so I just run an ISO for Iverson, and goddamn, ankle breaker and a deep 3 call. That the highlight of the year. Shout out Chris Smoove, cause that man needs the map or a manual or something. Starting the second quarter, Buckner bring the ball up and Todd sets the off ball for Iverson to pop out. Then Bryant sets the off ball for Slay, and then Todd sets another off ball for Iverson to get open in the corner. He doesn't get open, so I decide to do a little step back 3, and you know, that's money. Next, Buckner brings the ball up and passes it to Coleman. Than Van Horn sets the off ball for Buckner, but he doesn't get open, so then Kittles gets open from an off ball from Van Horn. Then I run the pick and roll with Van Horn, and Kittles takes it to the rack for a tough lay-in. Next, Iverson brings the ball up and passes it to Buckner. Iverson pops out, and Van Horn sets an off ball for Kittles. Then Coleman sets an off ball for Iverson, so Kittles kicks it to Coleman. Then Coleman kicks it to Iverson, and I'm not open, so I do a little step back three, and that's money in the bank. Next, Iverson brings the ball up and passes it to Bobby. Then Iverson sets a screen for Bobby, and Coleman sets an off ball for Iverson to pop out. Iverson doesn't get open, so Coleman sets an off ball for Bobby, and that's money. Next, Iverson has the ball and passes it to Coleman. Then Van Horn sets the off ball for Iverson, and the screen destroyed T-Mac. That's money in the bank. Heading into the second half, we hold a 5-point lead, and Iverson has 29 points on 10 of 15 shooting, which means he really has 58 points on 20 of 30 shooting, because this game is going to be changed from 6-minute quarters to 12-minute quarters. Starting the third quarter, Iverson brings the ball up and passes it to Bobby. Coleman then sets an off ball for Iverson, and he pops out. Then Van Horn sets a nice hard off ball for Kittles, and that's cash money. Now we're in transition. Coleman gets the rebound and passes it to Bobby. Then Bobby sets up Iverson for the open cash money three. Next, Bobby brings the ball up and Iverson pops out. Then Van Horn sets a nice off ball for Kittles but doesn't take it, so Coleman sets a nice off ball for Iverson to set him up for the wide open three. Next, Bobby brings the ball up and passes it to Coleman. Then Van Horn sets an off ball for Bobby for the three. We're in transition again. Van Horn gets the rebound and passes it to Buckner to set up Kittles for the transition three. Heading into the fourth quarter, Buckner brings the ball up and Iverson sets a screen for him. Then Todd sets an off ball for Iverson, but he doesn't get open, so I run a pick and roll with him and Todd, and he goes behind the back for a nice floater inside. In transition mode, Buckner gets the steal and sets up Iverson for the super clutch cash money three. Next, Bobby brings the ball up and Iverson pops out. Then Kittles pops out and Coleman sets an off ball for Iverson, and T-Mac should know by now that's too much space cash money. We're in transition. Kittles gets the rebound, and there was no open look, so I gave it to Iverson for an ISO, and he wasn't getting open, so I kicked it to Kittles in the corner, and that's clutch three and D cash money. Next, Iverson brings the ball up and passes it to Coleman. Van Horn sets an amazing off ball for Iverson, and too much space for Iverson equals, you already know what I'm going to say at this point. Next, I tried to run a play, but T-Mac gets the steal, but then Iverson gets the steal and hits the epitome of a clutch shot. And that's all she wrote. Final score is 152 to 130. T-Mac had 70 points, but was not enough for Iverson's 104 points. Holy fucking shit. I don't think I've ever scored that much in a MyNBA game with one player, and with 8 assists to go with it as well. Probably the best performance in NBA history, which I guess answers my question from earlier. Well, anyways, thank you guys for watching. In the next episode, I make a big trade and play a game against Baron Davis and the Hornets. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and want to see more.